Hey guys, Level Cap here. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming, the new show where we cover all things FPS. Today's an exciting week. We have several new games announced and some really big updates in the works. The first story this week is that Activision has announced Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Kind of crazy to think that we're already on the fourth Black Ops game. People are excited for it. The community reveal event is May 17th and the actual release date is October 12th. The announcement trailer really doesn't give us any sort of details on the game, so I imagine that will come on May 17th. And of course, the October 12th release date puts it in direct competition with the next Battlefield game, which is also coming out in October. Will be an interesting holiday season to say the least. The next big game announcement comes from Ubisoft, and that is Tom Clancy's The Division 2. The developers revealed the game during a brief Q&A stream. They announced the different agencies within Ubisoft that are working on it, and it's like 4 or 5 different branches from the company. Obviously, it's a huge project. They also said, and I quote, "We're also taking everything we learned over the past 2 years and applying it towards the sequel to make sure we get it right." Ubisoft has also hired on quite a few new people to their team. I think 25 positions opened up on the Division team, so this probably explains it. The original Division had amazing sales from a great concept and marketing campaign, but the player base seemed to drop off pretty quickly, citing lack of endgame content, somewhat uninteresting multiplayer, and plenty of bugs and hacking, at least on the PC side. Since then, the development team have been hard at work refining the engine, fixing bugs, and improving endgame content. A lot of the fan base is actually quite pleased with what they've done so far, and I imagine all of that will be applied to the next game. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has had quite the news week. They revealed their 2018 roadmap, showing a teaser image of a new map, teasing an image of the SA-58, which will be a fully automatic 7.62 rifle. No word if it's going to be loot crate only or found in the world. They also talked about adding in new vehicles, adding in weapon skins, redoing the entire player animation system, adding in skins to parachutes, further optimizing the game world, adding in new game modes, having a shorter time limit on their 4x4 Jungle Island map, talking about a new 8x8 map that they're working on, and also tons of engine optimizations and netcode optimizations and sound optimizations that are all in the works. If you want to know more details about the specifics, check out the video I made yesterday. They also launched a new patch on the test server, which includes 12 new emotes and supposedly improvements to the performance, although a lot of people have been saying that they're experiencing very, very inconsistent frame rates since the latest patch, so hopefully they'll take a little more time optimizing it before it goes to the live servers. Bluehole has also confirmed that there was a logic error in their latest anti-cheat update, which resulted in a bunch of people being banned inaccurately. People who are not cheating, hacking, or even playing at a particularly high level getting banned from their PUBG accounts. They said the issue is now fixed and players who were previously banned are reporting that they can get back in the game. Hopefully this is the case for everyone who is banned unjustly. The esports team Optic Gaming was disqualified from the PUBG Invitational Tournament for cheating. Not using actual hacks in game, but for basically exploiting something in game that allowed them to see through walls of buildings. Basically, in the rules of the tournament, if you know of a bug or an exploit and you use it during the competition, you can be disqualified, and the entire team was disqualified, losing out on their $12,000 prize. Just one more example of how PUBG is still very far from being esports ready, as there are plenty of exploits and things you can do in game to break the terms and conditions of a competitive tournament. Fortnite is breaking all kinds of records. It's now the most watched game on Twitch, doubling PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds viewer count at times. They've also been very quick to update and optimize their game, adding new features, cosmetic items, and even game modes. Their latest update adds a 5 teams of 20, which introduces a very different dynamic from the somewhat intimate teams of 4 or teams of 2 that you could run around the map. Now it's teams of 20, really having to work together to keep their numbers up and fight the other massive teams roaming around the map and scouring it for resources. On top of that, Epic Games also announced that Fortnite is coming to mobile on Android and iOS, and it will somehow be able to handle 100-player Battle Royale mode, which is incredible considering that it's operating on a cell phone. On top of that, the mobile version will support cross-platform play, so Android players can play against iPhone users, On top of that, they have been discussing allowing PlayStation 4 players of Fortnite to be able to play against Xbox players of Fortnite for cross-platform play. And they also have plans to allow the Mac version of Fortnite to play against PC versions of Fortnite. So I'm liking the cross-platform ideas behind them. Hopefully they can execute it flawlessly. Epic is really showing what a AAA game development studio can do in terms of progress and updates. Fortnite has been on a steamroll since its launch and is making its competitors look pretty bad in terms of the rates at which they can update and produce new content for their games. And speaking of their bad competitors, this week H1Z1 became a free-to-play game. Last week we reported on the massive decline in the H1Z1 player base. Perhaps making the game free will make it more competitive against Fortnite and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. With the announcement of it becoming free-to-play, also comes a new game mode called Auto Royale, which allows players to drive around in cars and shoot each other in sort of a car-based battle royale. Moving in the complete opposite direction, Rainbow Six Siege recently broke its peak concurrent player count at 176,000 players on Steam. Its peak player count is now triple of what it was just 6 months ago. Its regular content drops and growing esports potential has really brought in a lot of interest and new players to the game, and it's exciting to see a new game genre really taking off. With the addition of many new operators and expanded game content, Ubisoft has to constantly update what the standard game models offer. They recently updated it so that the standard version of the game will now unlock all 20 operators for you right off the bat without any sort of renowned purchase. Meanwhile, the starter edition previously gave you 2 random operators. This time it's going to give you 6 random operators. Basically, the deals for getting into the game are becoming more and more attractive. Also, to help new players get into the game, they're also coming up with a map selection system that should actually work this time around so that players aren't introduced to a wide variety of overly complex maps, but can hopefully choose from a few that they're more familiar with and slowly expand their knowledge of each map. With the much more mainstream adoption, Ubisoft is also introducing a new system that should automatically recognize and ban players for using hate speech or homophobic slurs or anything like that in chat. The bans can last to 15 days depending on the severity. They do say that the system probably won't be 100% proof, so if you still see people abusing other players in chat, that you can still use the standard report system. Personally, I'm surprised bigger AAA titles haven't already implemented these kind of systems, but maybe it will become an industry standard in the near future. Battlefield 2018 leaks seem to be all over the websites these days. The only thing is that these leaks are very much unconfirmed, and they're all coming from the same source. The leaks indicate that the next Battlefield game should be set in World War II. It's going to have a co-op single-player mode. The standard premium model is coming back, and that bullet deviation is gone. Of course, there's plenty of more details out there about what the next Battlefield game will contain, but again, none of it's confirmed just yet. Valve's Gabe Newell recently revealed that they're getting back into the game development business. Aside from working on Artifact, which is the competitive Dota 2 themed card game, Valve will also be working on other titles. In a 2017 Reddit AMA, Newell did confirm that Valve was working on at least one fully fledged single-player game, and in the following month with a roundtable interview with PC Gamer, he confirmed that they were working on 3 big VR games. Does this mean that maybe we'll get a Half-Life game? Will the Half-Life game be VR based since they're going to try and push the HTC Vive? We don't know, but I'm excited to see what comes of it. In our last story this week, violence in video games is back on the political radar in the US. After another very violent and deadly school shooting in Florida, people are once again starting to blame the video game industry for these mass shootings. During a White House meeting between the president and lawmakers plus critics of the video game industry and representatives of the video game industry, a montage was shown called Violence in Video Games. This montage has been posted on YouTube, basically depicting some of the most violent moments that have been shown in recent video game history. Now, obviously, this montage is a very narrow cut of what is available or what is experienced in video gaming in general. It's kind of like if somebody summed up violence in movies and just took all the B films or horror films out there and put them all together in one montage, it would paint a pretty deplorable picture of what the movie industry was like in general. The same thing could be done with literature, taking raunchy sex novel writing or action writing from fantasy books. You could paint a pretty deplorable picture of any industry that values its freedom of speech. Hopefully we don't see any drastic policy decisions coming from this one YouTube montage, but only time will tell. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know which articles you found the most interesting, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.